Welcome to CallCore Conversations. This is episode 4 now, guys. Today we have Adam from Ascent Dealer Services. Very excited about talking with Adam. He's got a very deep business background. For Adam, for the people that are watching this that maybe don't know you, haven't heard of you or your company, tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
So we provide insurance solutions to car dealers, RV dealers, power sports dealers, and boat dealers. So we provide finance and insurance products, and then we help mentor and coach those individuals to sell those products at the highest levels.
Awesome. I think in it's a space that a lot aren't familiar with. Why did you choose that space in particular?
Well, I was in the retail automobile business my entire career. I retired in 2017 to go out and start my own company. But from 1999 to 2017, I was in the retail automobile industry and fell madly in love with it and decided that I wanted to serve people at a higher capacity. So I exited.
Yeah, awesome. So it's always good to hear people that love what they do. I think sometimes in the job space, people kind of work just for a paycheck, and it's very rare to see people that really love what they do and go on to take it to the next level like yourself. What would you say if somebody was looking to get into something like your space? What are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face, and some advice you'd give somebody like that?
The biggest challenge, that's an easy question to answer because what I do is really, really difficult. The fail rate is probably 98%. So most people will leave retail, try to do what I do, and they end up going back to retail. Because in retail, you have consumers that end up becoming customers by showing up to your car lot. Customers show up at a dealership because something changed in their transportation needs, and we're there. So they're coming to us. So finance managers, let's just explain this. When you purchase a vehicle, the salesperson gets your paperwork ready, and then you have to go to the finance department for them to process the legal paperwork. And they sell optional protection packages that are all optional. Well, the customer's coming to the finance manager, okay? Well, when you get out on this side, on the vendor side of what we do, our customer are the owner dealership. So now we're going business to business opposed to the customers coming to see you. So the challenge is this: it's very difficult to get in front of a dealer, and most dealers have relationships with their current providers, and we have to find a way to bring new solutions to these dealers to help them. So it's a very difficult chore to do so.
Yeah, I think in a lot of spaces, there's a big separation between small, medium, and large businesses, and that happens at that point when there's a gatekeeper in the middle and there's competition involved. And what are some, and this may be your secret sauce a little bit, so you don't have to give a ton here, but what are some strategies that you use to help get past the gatekeeper, help get to the person that you're looking to speak with?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I appreciate that question too. So my business model is completely different from my competitors. My clients come to me. I work on referral only. I built a following and some relevance using social media platforms. It took me a very long time to build it, but now my clients come to me. I've developed a team that's out in the field. Now they go knock doors, and what makes them successful is they're creative. They think outside the box. They're not just showing up with the same word tracks that everybody uses. Our team has more of a servant leading approach. We're never trying to sell anything to anyone. We're looking to serve by providing solutions. So that's what we do differently, but using social media personally has allowed me to kind of disrupt the marketplace, and my clients come to me and I don't typically go to them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where our business model, my business has been open 12 years now, and we've done everything under the sun. And it wasn't until the last 4 years or so where we really changed the model. I kept saying to my team, I want to hold the power stick. I don't want to chase people. I don't want to have to do the hard close. I want them to want to work with us, and no better way to get business than word of mouth, right?
Amen.
Once people have worked with you and seen what you can do, that's so much better than a sales pitch. And in our space, and I'm sure you deal with this on your LinkedIn a ton, my LinkedIn is full of sales messages. I don't even want to open them sometimes. There's so many of them.
Hey, get you here. I'll give you a little tip here. I have the best executive assistant. I don't know if she'll even see this or ever hear this. Laura Georgioff is her name, but one of her job responsibilities is to scan all messages on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So she'll send me a list every single week. Hey, you need to reply to this individual. This individual is somebody you need to talk to. But I don't even see any of the minutia because she gets to it before I ever look at it. I'm not. That's too much minutes wasted of your life with all the spam on LinkedIn. You know.
Yeah, we've invested a lot of time into LinkedIn as of late, and it's good. And this is why you're here to begin with. I'm one to believe that people that are successful in business, a lot of them learned from the grind, but a lot of them learned by listening to people like yourself, right? Like if you've already done the work, you're willing to give the tips, listen to what people have to say, and a lot of that is found on social media. Working in your space, you go into these companies, you help kind of train their team, mentor their team. What are some of the major problems you see that's standard across the industry, like the first things that you're attacking when you go to a dealership?
Lack of process and accountability.
Mhm.
The stores that are running and firing on all cylinders, they have defined processes, and those processes are held accountable, and everybody's rowing in the same direction as a team. The stores that are in disarray, the underperforming stores, do not have defined processes. Those processes are definitely not being held accountable. And it all starts from the top, right? So if a dealer, the owner of the dealership, is okay just being okay, you're going to find disarray. But for the dealer that truly wants to win and they want to dominate their space, they grow, they want to evolve, they invest in their people. And it starts from the top, and they welcome accountability and they hold everyone accountable. And that's the difference. So the stores that struggle are typically, there's lack of process, really is lack of process. And the accountability word, people hate it. It's necessary to scale. You can't scale anything without being held accountable, period.
Yeah. I mean, that applies to almost every business model. One of our big, we run call center services, and I've done a little bit with the dealership side on the recall service side of things. And it's that same thing. I think you get into a company and you see, and it's hard. I think you start to build relationships with people at your company, and then when the accountability doesn't exist, it's really hard for someone internally to come in and grab accountability. You almost have to have someone like yourself come in and say, listen, I know there's relationships here, but this is wrong. It needs to be fixed, or you're not going to be able to do what you need to do. How do you accomplish getting, and this, I think any business model could use this advice. How do you go into a business and get people to own up to where the mistakes are, where the holes are, without getting really defensive about their positions and what they've been doing at this company up to this point?
So we have to step on our ego a little bit. We have to embrace humility. I'll tell you right now, when it comes to mistakes, we all make them. I'm the first one in my company that falls on the sword. I fall on the sword for everything. When we do something well, I praise the team. When something doesn't do well, I fall on the sword. I challenge people to embrace that, because there's so many people that like to make excuses, point fingers, and it looks so bad, especially from a leader. When a leader starts pointing fingers, that's their fault, or this should have happened. That makes you look weak. I like taking accountability for all things that go wrong, even in scenarios where I know I didn't screw this thing up, but I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to take the blame for it, and I'm going to find a solution. So when I train other leaders, I challenge them to be willing always to fall for the team. Quickly praise the team when success happens. It's the team that did it. When a failure arises, it's the leader, the project manager, that has to fall on the sword. And we have to forget. Okay, we have to not allow our ego to get in the way, and that's a problem with a lot of business people. Is we do have some egos. I got a little bit of ego. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't truly believe in myself and all of my companies and all of my people. However, guess what? We're human beings, and we're going to make mistakes, and we have to be able to raise our hand saying, I did something wrong here, guys. I'm so sorry. Here's what we're going to do to pivot. We're going to fix it. Let's try this. So humility is the most important thing in business out of leadership, and being able to fall on the sword for your team at all times is absolutely critical. Now, let me sidebar this. There's coaching opportunities from situations. So in a situation where maybe another leader on your team dropped the ball, never in public, but in private, we sit down and have conversations on how do we get a little bit better. I feel I didn't hold you accountable enough. Maybe I wasn't there for you enough, Mr. Manager. How can we work together collectively to make sure that this never happens again, right? The sidebar coaching instead of brow beatdowns that still exist in the business world. I see business still beating people down in public. You can't do that. You got to individualize your people and have private conversations with them. But stepping on your ego is the most important thing we can do as leaders, period.
Yeah, I think we deal with a lot of companies that we help consult with and take a look at kind of their whole team, their processes, and similar to what you do, different space. We see a lot where sometimes we have to have the hard conversation of, we have these managers that maybe are newer in management roles or newer to the company that feel like it is 100% their responsibility to carry this person along, and they need to help build them up. But they've spent 6 months, a year, 18 months trying with this one person, and sometimes it just doesn't fit. Where do you draw the line? And okay, either this person's going to get it, it's on the manager, or it's time to maybe replace the person.
Well, I believe that people eventually let themselves go. You don't have to let anyone go in today's market. So where do I draw the line? It's one of those things. There's two things I talk about all the time. There's knowing and there's doing. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you don't know how to complete a task, that's on me, because my responsibility as a leader, as a business owner, is to train you and make sure you are completely trained. So a knowing problem is not typically a situation in any of my companies, but sometimes there's a doing problem. Yeah. So sometimes somebody knows how to do something and they refuse to, whether it's lazy, they don't agree with it, they don't believe in it, or they're just having a bad day. Mm-hmm. And if it becomes a doing problem more than 3 times for me, that tells me that you're not interested in working with our team and serving our people. So then you let yourself go by proxy. Mm-hmm. So I always talk about knowing and doing. If it's a knowing situation, it's on the leadership and the company. If it's a doing situation, it's on the person. And if it's a doing situation repeatedly, you're not a fit, my friend.
Yeah, I agree. I think that kind of all circles back to what the company culture is, what the expectations are from the beginning. Company culture being a huge topic of conversation. I think personally, I see a lot of companies that, especially early, that their main focus is profit, right? And sometimes profit can crush culture. Culture crushes people. So for those newer companies out there that are maybe starting, needing to make money, obviously right away, how do you balance building a company culture that is what you want and also focusing on keeping the business alive at the beginning?
It's a great question. At the very beginning, obviously, we need revenue to pay our bills. Mm-hmm. One thing is you can be a victim of scaling too fast. So I would challenge business owners to hire as little as possible up front to get as much revenue so you can afford to hire people, because there are situations, and I've been there before, where you're growing too fast and hiring and you can barely make payroll. And there's times I've had to take personal funds into multiple companies and inject cash just to keep people paid, right? That's a scary thing right there. So that's one thing. We need to be prepared and kind of slow to start. But then once that bad boy gets going, it turns into a machine, and then you could start selectively adding people that fit your culture. Now, let's talk about culture, because out of all my companies, and I love all of my companies, but we're talking about Ascent.
Kids. I love all my kids.
Yeah, Ascent Dealer Services has a culture like no other. Mm-hmm. I refuse to hire anyone without the entire team interviewing the individual. You have to fit. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't mix business with pleasure. You shouldn't be friends with your employees. You should. Bull crap. We go on vacations together. They come stay at my house. There's a fine line, though, because you can be taken advantage of. There's a fine line of, hey, I'm still your leader, but you're also my dear friend that I love and I consider you family. So at our team, it's about serving everyone. I work for my team and they do not work for me. My job's to serve them and their families. And then in turn, with that mindset, they'll serve the company and the company continues to grow. Our culture is unbreakable. We have 0 cancer on our team. And so now we're very strategic. I'll do a couple of interviews, get to know somebody. And if I feel that, I kind of like this person, the next interview is with the entire team. And a lot of the time, I don't join that meeting. Yeah. I don't join that meeting. I'll have my assistant set it up. My team does the interview. I report back afterwards and we have a meeting and I get to hear what everybody really thinks without any influence from me. And if my team majority gives more of a nod, hey, we like this individual, then I hire them. It's got to fit within our culture or it's not going to happen, period. Culture is everything to me. And we have a company that's such a beautiful piece of art. I'm just not willing to damage that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Our company is very, it's a weird line of professional, right? We can go be professional, but it's really, we're all working together. We all very interested in the success of the business. You know, the owner in our situation, I'm the COO. The owner, you know, when he was ready to step away and go partially retire, he said, "Here's the keys. We trust you to do it." And he didn't stand over my shoulder. And we built a team of people that we know all of each other's kids' names. We go to all of each other's parties and baby showers, and like everyone is always surrounding each other. And transparently, that's created some issues with us for hiring other people, because we've interviewed quite a few people, and I'm like, this person won't fit, right? And we kind of have to siphon through a larger set of, if I'm hiring for an entry level position versus like a management position, it's a completely different group of people that I can kind of insert in there. So I actually like that strategy a lot. You know, we have a similar interview process, but only with a two different people. I think having the whole team involved would be a great strategy. You know, a lot of people start businesses and then you fast forward 10, 12 years and you start thinking to yourself, like, if I knew this, then I would have done this all differently. If you could go back and give yourself on day one piece of advice, what would it be?
If I could go back, I would have 10x'd my efforts more on social back then. I did a lot on social media and it built our company, but I could have done a lot more. So if I could have gone back almost 6 years ago, I would have produced double the content. I would have produced double the live shows. I would have connected with people more often. I would have found a way to hire an assistant earlier, because me hiring a true executive assistant allows me to go out and do what I do best, speak to people and use social media instead of the monotony of the admin and the emails, in which I still involved in the email. But going back, I would have hired an assistant sooner and I would have doubled my efforts on social media. For any entrepreneur that's up and coming, make no mistake, social media is the most powerful force in the universe. You can get your message to the masses. If you do it the right way with consistency, you can grow a massive company using just social media. And I'm proud to say that I built my company. It's a very, very large company now. And I would say that 80% of all of our revenue has been an inbound social media lead off of 2 platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook. Insanity. So knowing what I know today, talking to my almost 44-year-old version of myself, who's still a work in progress, a massive work in progress, I would go back to 37-year-old Adam, 38-year-old Adam. I'd say, Adam, double what you're doing on social media, because then how much further along will we be now? Now I don't beat myself up over that. So now we have a team and we have a social media marketing manager. We have a team collectively that are psychopaths on social media. So our company is just going crazy right now. So
yeah, I think you know, my generation is like, I was born in 91, right? So I came through like none of it and then all of it, and so I've always kind of been there. But you know, I interact with a lot of companies that have older owners, don't know much about social media, and they start associating costs with stuff like that. And so if you were talking to an owner who said, you know, I'm going to spend $10,000 on social media, where's my return? How do you even quantify something like that maybe doesn't have an immediate return, or doesn't, you know, you don't make a phone call, get a sale, and it's quantifiable that easily? What advice would you give that kind of owner who's just now getting into it?
That's a great question, and it's a very simple question for me to answer. First of all, spend $0. There's no way I would recommend anyone spending any money on social media for at least 12 months. You got to get your organic flow. You've got to get your structured, consistent message out there. So I would tell people, and there's a motto: what you post today won't pay you today, but it will pay you tomorrow, and typically in 10x proportions. So what you post today is not going to get an immediate return, but tomorrow it sure will. And tomorrow's a metaphor. So with that being said, I tell people, get a consistent theme. What is your message? What is your vision? What is your mission? Share some testimonies from clients. brag on some of your team, do some team spotlights, share what you really do. What value can you bring? Oh, and also shift power, share other people's content. There's something magical that happens when you share a competitor. This is a competitor of mine. This is something very valuable. I'm so glad that I read this. I'm going to share this with all of my clients. Hats off to you, Mr. Competitor. Share that stuff out there. Don't be afraid of that stuff. But consistency over a 12-month period of time will get you an audience, and then we can start paying to play a little bit. We can start paying for ads at that point.
Yeah, I think we've personally made the mistake of putting the ads out, and I was like, this just the audience that we're advertising to is just not our target audience. We're getting out to a large reach of people, but it's not really connecting us with anything. And it wasn't until we started being consistent in what we posted, and compared to your LinkedIn, which you've obviously very aggressively worked on, we still have some ways to go. But we found a nice groove, right? And once you find that groove, it all becomes very, very easy.
Amen.
It just kind of down. Awesome. So in your space, you deal with a lot of dealers, a lot of aggressive salespeople that are used to selling at a very high level. Have you found that it is easier to coach people? We have a hiring process in which we used to only hire experienced people and coach experienced people. But then I found that people with no experience, this is personally, were easier to teach. They have no old tips and tricks and things that they've learned from the industry. And I know in the car industry, it's very specific. People were raised by people who have been aggressive salespeople, and there's all these strategies, and got to do the test drive and then do this and do this and then do this, right? So when your thought processes are outside of what those old strategies look like, how do you get the point across effectively to teach an old dog new tricks?
It's very difficult to teach old dog new tricks. I've found that out. I prefer somebody with less experience that you can mold into your culture, into your mindset, and your processes. I find that easier. However, there is something to be said about finding a superstar that's experienced, that's looking for an opportunity. I talk to that individual, but somebody that's not willing to change, somebody that's not willing to try something new, I have no interest in doing any business with that individual. I'll tell you a quick story. I got an inbound lead from a dealer the other day. It wasn't from a dealer. It was from somebody at the dealership saying, hey, we're interested in some of your finance training. I would like you to talk to my finance director. So I get on the phone with the finance director. His name was Kyle or Kevin, don't remember. But I start talking to him a little bit about who we are and what we do and how it could maybe potentially benefit him. And this is his exact words. Sir, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't need no coaching. And this is what I said. Sir, I only work with those that have a growth mindset. We're not a fit anyway. I hope you have a great rest of your day selling. And that conversation was completely over. It's unfortunate that there's so many people out there that can't get out of their own way, and they just think they've got it all figured out. And those are the people that will eventually be completely wiped out of business eventually.
Yeah, I think that you said something that was really important there. I think a lot of the companies that we deal with, especially ones in the early stages, are extremely fearful to turn business away. And so they will try to make their model fit into somebody like that, but you can't win. You're only gonna, from my perspective, and I'm sure you have an opinion on it, you can only hurt your brand. If what you do cannot help this person, trying to force it to make some profit, it's just gonna end negatively for you.
Amen.
Awesome. So tell the people a little bit about your company, where they can find you guys if they're in your space, how they can set up a meeting. What does this process look like for somebody who's maybe a new or interested customer?
Well, I'm pretty easy to find on Facebook. There are a lot of profiles. I got a lot of people that copy my profiles. So if you look up Adam Marburger, I'm the one. There's a blue check mark. That's me. LinkedIn is a very easy place. Just Adam Marburger. AscentDealerServices.com. Or AdamMarburger.com. Those are two other ways to find me, but it's pretty easy on social. I'm very active. I respond to everyone, but Facebook and LinkedIn are the two best places to connect with me.
Awesome. Well, Adam, it was great speaking with you today. We will piece this together and get it out. If you guys are interested in talking with Adam, he just gave you all the ways to do so. So if you are in his space and you are currently not working with them, I suggest trying.